Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jiles, and today we have a really special episode. So, occasionally a piece of gear comes across that you've always wanted to get your hands on. And today I'm going to have that opportunity. And to make things even more special, I'm going to be joined by Zach from Dream Media Home Theater, who's going to give his point of view on this equipment as well. And these pieces of equipment are the Trinnov Altitude 16 and Amplitude 16. So this is their processor and their amplifier in the 16-channel models. These things are amazing pieces of gear, and stick around so you can find out about these things because, if you haven't experienced it, you haven't experienced it, and I'm going to try and help you have that experience at your home so you can kind of understand exactly why these things are lifted up and put on the platform they are, because they are. They are amazing. So stick around and we'll get right into it. Before we get started, if you're into tech, hi-fi, or movies, be sure to push the subscribe button for new weekly videos. Okay, folks, we're going to get into this thing, and the first thing I want to do is really talk about the specs and features that are provided by this equipment, by the Altitude and Amplitude 16. And while we do that, we're going to watch these things being unboxed, so you can kind of get the feel of what it's like to receive these into your environment and get them ready for installation. I want to cover a lot of different topics here. Everything from installation to use of the Trinnov Amplitude and Altitude 16. So these are the top tier processor that you can get your hands on, right? These are the ones to have. They're really, really, really good, and they do everything that you could possibly imagine. Now, you can watch along with us, and as I'm talking, we'll show a little bit about the installation, that kind of thing. But let's cover off on the physical box itself first, right? So this does have a full set of XLR outputs, right? Plus it has XLR and everything that you could possibly imagine on the input side. But one of the things that's really cool is the connectivity from their processor to their amplifier. So they have kind of what looks like an old school serial port on the back of the Altitude, which then comes into, a octopus cable of XLR cables that plug into the back of the Amplitude, right? And this makes it really, really easy to cable these things together. So you don't have a billion cables running in your rack, you just have the one. So it makes it really, really nice. Now, another thing, as you step through the setup of this that's related to that, is any channel can be assigned to any output on the back of the box. So you don't really need to know where your amplifier is cabled to. You can just jam all the cables in and then test each connection one by one and assign it to the right channel. So it makes things easy when you're making changes, especially in an environment where you have a rack where it might not be so easy to go and make changes on the back end. This is a very flexible methodology for installation. Let's talk a little bit about the video portion of this processor, right? So everything is HDMI, but this does support the newest version of HDMI 2.1. Now, this is important because it really reflects back on the way that they build their processors. And what I mean by that is that these are all upgradable, right? So as new flavors of HDMI come out, you don't have to rebuy your whole processor again. Now, there are other brands kind of on the lower end of things that, I call it being on the treadmill of AVRs, right? So if you put the AVR here, eventually it's going to fall off the back, right? And then you need to get another one and put on. And that's because features change over time. Technology changes over time. But with these units, you can upgrade them. You can buy a new HDMI board, drop in there, and take advantage of the newest technology at a minimal investment as compared to having to spend all of the money again to rebuy and rebuild a whole new system. So my hat's off to Trinnov for allowing this to be a piece of gear that when you invest in, you can keep for the long term, right? So it's not one of those flash in the pan kind of devices that you keep for 2 years, and then you need another one. You can literally keep this for 10 years, 15 years, and have it grow with you as you grow in your theater. Now, I've been hands-on with the Altitude 16, but there's also the Altitude 32, the bigger brother that does twice as many channels, right? So this really is targeted at the largest of home theaters down to what I would consider to be the upper end of enthusiast, right? So, you're spending some money and you get a lot of return for that, but it is not the least expensive tool that's out there. But the quality that you get is really unparalleled. Now, some things that I also want to touch on around the installation is when you purchase this, I would strongly recommend that you purchase this from a custom installer. And high on the list is Dream Media, right? And one of the cool things that they do that you might not get with other people is if you live somewhere that's not necessarily a large metropolitan area and you want to get into this technology, you might not have a dealer in your city. You might not have a dealer in the next 3 cities, right? Well, they will send out an engineer to set this up and tune it in your theater. And that is absolutely critical to get the most out of this technology. A lot of people that are going to buy this are at the enthusiast level, and you could probably hack your way through this thing and figure it out. But if you want that best experience, make sure you get those services from your installer. And Dream Media, they're pro. They've done a ton of these things. They know exactly what they're doing. They can be in and out in a good amount of time and give you an absolutely amazing experience. Let's talk a little bit about the DSP functionality, the tuning functionality of the Trinnov. And, one thing I want to point out is they have what is likely the coolest microphone in the market. This is the Trinnov microphone, and this thing is crazy cool. But this allows them to use their technology to tune your room in a way that, other companies really can't do. So Trinnov doesn't use a bolt-on tool from another company for their processing, right? This is all in-house developed technology that is proprietary to Trinnov. Now, a lot of times when you say proprietary, that's not necessarily the best word. Well, in this case, this is the only place you can get this tech, and the tech is so good that it brings in customers, right? They want this. And, the reason they want it is not just because of the normal features, right? A lot of technology can smooth your bass out, can make your speakers sound like they're supposed to, do all the timing, phase, and all that stuff. But there are advanced features that this will do that other things don't necessarily do. But one of the features that's really, really cool is the ability of this technology to really correct your room, right? So a lot of times when you say room correction, it means you're just correcting the sound that's inside of your room. But in a room where you can't place your speakers where they really need to be, this technology will take the sound and virtually move it around to place it where it's supposed to be, right? So if your rear is too far forward or your back surround is in the wrong spot, these speakers are able to be tuned and the sound positioned so that it sounds like it's coming from the right location. And really what that means is that it creates this enveloping bubble of sound where you don't get localization on sources at all, right? So whereas maybe your speaker is too far out before in the wrong location and you're like, oh, I can hear that surround. Well, this creates that immersive sound environment in rooms that don't really meet specs for anything. So it's really crazy cool technology that they can do this thing. One other thing I want to call out, which amazed me, and this is simple, right? This is kind of like table stakes for them, but my heights are not the best when it comes to off-axis performance, and mine are flat in the ceiling, so you're sitting pretty far off-axis when you're in any of the seats in my theater. Well, this processor using this microphone was able to make these things sound like you are directly on axis with them. It was absolutely amazing, the change that it made in the Atmos experience for my room. So a lot of people will have Atmos and they'll say, oh, it really doesn't do that much. Oh, I expected more. I think it might not be the Atmos itself, but I think it's really the interaction between the installation and then the tuning of those speakers with the processor. Because if you get that right, I absolutely guarantee it will be a game-changing event for you. And for me, that's exactly what happened here. It's the best the theaters ever sound, particularly from the point of view of the Atmos and the subwoofers. Just stunning. So technology that you can't find anywhere else. This is one of the compelling features for the product.
It really is a revolutionary product and cutting-edge technology. I love the fact that we can sell this product with confidence that it's an investment piece. You hear me say that all the time, and it sounds kind of silly because all of these really at the end of the day are toys, right? But we're looking for products where it lasts for years, so you really get your money's worth out of it. And the ability to upgrade with additional DAC modules for adding channels in case you want to do like their waveforming technology or upgrading your video, it makes the money worth spending because you know that you're going to keep it for years to come. I liked that analogy that Jiles used about the receiver treadmill. I mean, gosh, it's every 3 to 5 years we get a call from our AVR customers like, okay, well, I got a new TV. Now I need a new AVR because it won't work. Or I'm getting HDMI connection issues because you're not on the latest, greatest.
Now that we've got these things out of the box, and man, they're gorgeous, right? These are really, really cool pieces of technology. Let's go through the installation just a bit, because there's some really cool features of how these two work together, particularly from a wiring point of view. Now, I don't want to spoil it, so keep watching so you can see the cool cables that connect these two devices together, and then also the plethora of connectivity on the back of these guys. So we're going to go ahead and step through the installation of these into my rack. So this is a look at the rack before installation, and I'm going to pull out these two amplifiers here at the bottom, Stark Sound amplifiers, wonderful pieces of gear, and that's going to make space to install the Amplitude 16 and the Altitude 16, right? The 16-channel amplifier and the 16-channel processor. Now, the one thing that I want to point out here, what you're looking at, and this is just a photograph, right, is the cabling for the connection from the Altitude 16 to the Amplitude 16, and you're using just two cables, right, that I call octopus cables, and it really makes connecting all of these things together much, much easier, right? The wiring is a non-issue, and then the speaker cable that goes into the amp, you can just jam those into any of the channels that you want and then remap that in the processor. And then this is just a quick shot of the two units installed in the rack itself. So easy peasy, lemon squeezy, very straightforward. And the cabling, when you use both the Trinnov amp and processor, gets really, really easy. To sum things up, I've talked a lot about the installation and the features that this has. There are a handful of other things that I think that are very important, right? So you're going to get the best audio and video quality possible. You're able to upgrade as needed so that you can stay at the forefront of the technology. The service for the units can be performed locally or remotely, and that becomes very important when you need that assistance tuning, right? The integration with this is absolutely flexible with pretty much anything that exists. So you can use this with pretty much any control system that you have. Integrates really well with Kaleidoscape, with screens that have custom masking, integration with lights, all of those things, and then particularly with different remote controls. So this is designed for that advanced environment. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is the super advanced features, right? And this unit can do things that I haven't really seen anywhere else. And I think this is because of the roots that Trinnov has in really high-end audio and pro audio. So not only can this unit tune and manage what I call baked speakers, meaning all the parts are in there. So you have a speaker and it's got crossovers and all that kind of stuff. Well, this can also manage speakers that don't have any onboard crossover. So if you were to build your own main and have a tweeter and a mid bass and a sub, well, this is able to do all of that crossover, manage all of those different channels of technology that flows out to this speaker. So this allows you to work with really, really high-end speakers that tune to the room for crossover as opposed to just having that all prepackaged. And that is a functionality that you really can't find anywhere else that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, this, without moving over to Pro Gear for Pro Audio, this is the solution for home theater for that level of speaker. Absolutely stunning stuff. Okay, folks, that brings us to the end of the Trinnov Altitude and Amplitude 16s. Like I said, absolutely stunning gear. I've super enjoyed my time with them. And when I have to send these back, I'm going to be absolutely brokenhearted because they are the best that I've ever had in my theater to this point. Now, I also want to say thanks to Zach for coming on and helping out with this review of the technology. And again, as I said before, if you're looking for a partner to purchase this with, really look for someone that's going to give you that support that you need. And Dream Media is, a really good option for that. They have extensive expertise in the installation of the technology, the support of the technology, and then also the sales team will help you understand how this fits into your system and what you'll need for that installation. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Information for Dream Media is down below. Make sure to go subscribe to those guys, and I'll see you in the next video.